On the Daysvale, we'll be continuing our starting civilization series, which we haven't been to for a bit. And now for the first thing, a collapse. But it's not really a collapse. It's realistically probably a succession crisis. With one nation over there, and one nation over here, and one in the deep north deciding to declare independence. This isn't a big deal by any stretch. This is just minor. This is just a minor inconvenience, you could say, but it's not really like the end of a nation, per se. It's not like the nation will never form again. Well, even if it fully collapses, it could still form again. You never know. Okay. As they do that, and then, that's pretty good, I guess, for the partitioners who destroyed the nation. Successionists are just different. Like, what do you mean you want to leave your country? And sometimes they're valid, honestly. But sometimes they're like, doesn't really matter. And sometimes they're like, I just want to say, like, I support independence just because it sounds cool. Like, if somebody has to say Free Catalonia, I don't think that's a good idea, but I think it's a good statement, Free Catalonia. Or Free Scotland. Like, it's got a ring. But I think secession is just not good. And well, this purple nation decides to collapse after a food shortage. And that's what it becomes, a little weak state. I guess that's more of collapse than what I was saying about that. This nation also has a problem. Yeah. I said this really weirdly. That's weird. But this nation, which is golden, I guess. Is it really gold? I would call that purple, but realistically, this is purple. But I'd also call that purple, but they don't look the same, honestly. That's not looking well. And well, if one more nation to collapse, no, I'm kidding. But two nations. This nation loses its northern territory, its southern, and its inland territory. This one, well, actually, it's two more. This one fractures into a few nations. Well, this is what it now looks like. And this nation falls into a few pieces, but not as weak, because its groups spread out across bigger lands. And they've also done a good job of making most groups support this nation. But due to the food shortage that goes around this area, a few nations declare independence, which includes over here. And over here. So now let's see the independent nations. There's expansion being this nation, which hears of a growing weakness within the yellow nation, decides to take advantage of it. But the weakness was just really geography and amounts of forces they had in this region, which lead to a sweeping victory in the north. But once the forces are alerted of it, they start moving to stop this. But their counteroffensive fails, and they get pushed back even further into this region. So they attempt a counteroffensive for real, with them getting the front line to stall out over there for a few weeks. Then after a few weeks, they get pushed back, with the peace treaty not being the best peace treaty. Well, then again, peace treaties are never good for the losing nation. Well, this is not a good peace treaty. It's not very fair. But there's no war reparations or restrictions on army. Only restrictions on armies on this border. Well, this puppet nation decides to declare its full independence. Why? Because it needs to do something different. Okay, 1 second. It needs to... Yeah, now it's independent. And well, a few collapses happen here, such as this nation falling into 3, which is kind of interesting how it looks. Then this nation falls in 2, in 3, or 2, it doesn't really matter. I think I'll do 2. And this nation falls apart as the northern area is taking too much of the crops from the bottom, so they declare independence. And well, let's fix the colors of these few nations that just declared themselves to exist. saying they're real. Who even knows if they are? Well, then again, this world doesn't exist, so technically these nations don't exist. Or do they? And right now I'm creating a new universe in which this happened. Who knows? We'll never know. This nation being strong, I guess. Strong enough. The islands may not be done that well. But that's okay, it's just a bunch of islands. Yeah, that's not the only thing that came out of me. I guess maybe we'll be like, and this guy who created a bunch of universes where maybe there's a million wars. Yeah, that sounds like a statement. With an area, the northern area, being a bit different. I mean, over here, which is different, they just declare their independence. And over here, they get a bunch of declarations. But it's not a weakness, per se. It's clearly probably a strength, losing all of these rebellious areas that keep rebelling. Well, the Purple Nation collapses, but not as badly as the rest of the nations that collapse. There's a nation declare independence here and over here. One over there, and that's pretty much all that affects them. I'm just going to do all the independences now, so we can go on to the video. Well, this nation falls apart into a north and south. And well, this nation splits into a inland and outland. And this one splits north and south. This purpley nation falls into. The other purpley nation falls into. And it looks like this. So that's pretty much all the collapses. So let's pause the video for a second. Nations gave their independence. Now there's lots of nations over there. Lots of nations over here. Lots of nations everywhere. Now this nation over here deciding to invade this blue nation. Which is not the only one, because this nation decides to join in the fun. Well, this is an expansion, I guess. The expansion of the video. Yay. At least you get some. Well, they had a pretty good time here invading this nation. As they get stronger, and that's probably their only reason to invade another nation. With this nation seeing opportunity and seizing it, believing these opportunities will be stole from it. Which they basically are referring to. You see all these fractured, collapsed nations. Well, that's an advantage. You see this nation over here? Well, that's also an advantage. They seize a lot of opportunities, as you can tell. Believing that it's either they take it or someone else. And they decide this is strategic to invade this nation. Their collapse would be very crazy. As they take the last weak nation they want to invade. And they just are trying to basically become the Rome of this timeline again. And while there's many nations, some are going to rise, some will fall. Well, this yellow nation, angered by the leaving of this nation, decides to launch an armed invasion, creating the puppet state and annexing its coastline as revenge for its leaving. With a note that says, if you ever try this again, you'll be formally annexed, being gave to the leader of this puppet. And it's going to be the same color, that's how close to a puppet it is. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not really subscribe. You should subscribe so you get to 3,500 subscribers by March 1st. So please like and subscribe. Bye, guys!